What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be starting a new mountain bike build. Now for any of you that have not seen my last mountain bike build, I was working on the newer version of the Schwinn Boundary, which is a 29-inch mountain bike. I did do a lot of upgrades to that bike, and I gotta say it was probably one of my favorite mountain bikes because again, I'm a tall guy, 6'3", 270 pounds, and I felt like that was just a overall great value mountain bike because it had a lot of great features to it and it was very inexpensive. Now at that same time, this was also during sort of the pandemic when you couldn't even find mountain bikes anywhere. So I ultimately ended up going with the Schwinn Boundary and working on building that up, which has gone great and I really liked it. But the other bike that I was very interested in was the Schwinn Axum with the dropper post. But at that time, all last year, it was nowhere to be found. I couldn't find it online, I couldn't find it in a store, so I just sort of gave up on that idea at that time. But I was checking some online stores the other day, and one did pop up in their inventory, so I hurry up and bought it. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be starting a brand new mountain bike build, and this time it's going to be on the 2021 Schwinn Axum DP. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Okay, so there we go. Let's take a closer look at what this is. Now here is the model number right here, in case any of you need to see that. This is the Schwinn Axum DP, which means it comes with the dropper post already. So let's go ahead and start opening this up. Okay, so one good thing about these bikes, they do come packaged in a pretty tight box. So it's easy for shipping and everything's pretty much stored in here and zip tied together. Because this is the way a lot of bikes come shipped when you order them online. So we're gonna go ahead and lift the entire bike out of the box first, and then we'll start getting into the rest in a minute. So let's go do that. Okay, so we pulled it out of the box. And just as expected, this is very typical when bikes are packaged this way. What happens is for them to fit them in the box, they actually slide the front tire over the crank here, and a lot of times your spokes will scrape up the paint there on your actual crank. So that's unfortunate. It just is what it is. It happens when you buy them this way. So just be prepared for that it is a common thing for that to happen. So sometimes you might luck out, and during shipping, it doesn't shift around as much and it doesn't scuff the paint, which means you have to be extremely careful taking the wheel off when you're sliding it off so not to scratch that. So I've purchased many bikes online, and this is a very common thing to have some of that corner scratched a little bit from the spoke. But again, little touch-up paint, not a big deal, because again, eventually I will be replacing that. But I wanted to show you how it comes out of the box. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take off some of these little plastic covers, and then you're going to get a wire cutter and start cutting all these zip ties right here. Just be careful you don't cut your tire like that. Okay, should be it. All right, so there we go there. So there's our tire here. What's nice about this bike, one of the things I'll point out is that it does have all disc brakes here. Now these are mechanical disc brakes, so I will be upgrading those to a hydraulic disc brake here in the very near future. So stay tuned for that, because I definitely recommend, if you have the disc brake set up, to upgrade to the hydraulic disc brakes. It makes a night and day difference, and they're not that expensive. I usually go with the Shimano's, and you can buy them new online, or you can sometimes pick them up used. But stay tuned for that, because I will be doing some upgrades in the near future. Take off all this stuff here. It's just basically cardboard and foam padding. Okay, so move your seat out of the way. Okay, here's our seat post. Set that over there. And then the best thing to do is probably just pick your bike up, and it's best to set it down against something or stand over top of it, because you want your forks laying on the ground or on some type of stable platform, because when you take this cardboard cap off, which is very thick, it's like a sleeve, you take that off, that will actually allow your forks to drop through. So you want to make sure your forks are sitting on something stable when you take this cardboard sleeve off. They started doing this on their newer bikes because back in the day, they didn't include that, and the forks would slide up and down and bounce around in shipping, and a lot of times the bearings got damaged. But these right here are very, very sturdy. They're actually a pain in the butt to get off. It's almost better to just unscrew this top cap and then slide the sleeve off then, because trying to cut it off or rip it off with your finger, it's almost impossible. So let me go ahead and take that cap off, and then we'll start mounting the actual handlebars on, and we'll get that going. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I got the handlebars mounted. Again, once you take this top bolt out right here, pop that off, that sleeve right here pops right off. You basically then want to loosen up these bolts right here, and on the other side, loosen those up, and then your handlebars will slide back on. Just make sure you have your forks lined up to how they are supposed to be. The back usually says rear. You want that facing the bike. So line them up, slide your handlebars right on top. Go ahead and tighten them down, tighten this down. Now I don't have everything tightened down completely. I just have them tight enough to hold everything in place. The next thing we need to do is start working on the dropper post, which could be a little bit tricky. So what you're gonna do, there is the wire for your dropper post. Now it is sitting down here. That's why there's so much slack up here. You need to fish this wire down and then push it through the hole to get it to pop out the top. Just take his cap off. Okay, there's a wire down in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but as you're fishing this wire up, the wire pops out. That's what we're gonna have to use to connect to the bottom of the dropper post. So let me go ahead and start doing that now, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the next thing I like to do is just loosen up this nut right here on your dropper post handle and give yourself a little bit of slack when you're pulling it out. Then what you want to do, there's a little head right here. See that little cylinder running side to side right here, okay? That cable goes through that cylinder, and you're going to need a very tiny Allen key right there, okay? Because that right there is what's going to tighten up the cable into that cylinder head to hold it in place. If you don't tighten that screw up and you just mount this and pull the trigger, you're going to pull your cable all the way through, and it's going to be a big pain in the butt to fix. So always make sure out of the box, make sure you use an Allen key and tighten that cylinder head there to make sure your cable stays in. Then what you want to do is just use like a little screwdriver like this, and you can just manually push it out of the way to put that cylinder head through this piece right here, okay? So this cylinder head here slides through this bracket right here, and you want the cable lined straight up. Once you do that, you're good to go. Then you can go ahead and put your dropper post that's attached to your seat in through the main frame tube, tighten it down. Now, if you do it correctly, now again, I always cut those little zip ties off of there because from the factory, they're so brittle, they end up snapping and breaking anyways. So I always cut mine off and then I put brand new ones on. That way it gives you full range of motion with your wires. Then after you're all done setting everything up, all you gotta do is line them back up in there, put a zip tie through there, and you're good to go. So now the way it works is this is just a mechanical lever that unleashes the hydraulic tube here. So watch, when I press my thumb in, that'll raise. Now it doesn't go down unless you push the lever in and sit on it. So once you do that, let me see if I can get my foot to do it. Push your thumb in, and then let go of your thumb. There you go. So that's basically what the dropper post is for. So when you are on the trails and you need a little bit of clearance, you could just go ahead and use your dropper post to sit down on this, and it'll push it down so you have plenty of room to move. And then when you're out of that situation and when you're back to a slower pace, just go ahead and hit your dropper post back up to where you want it. So that is a very, very nice upgrade that comes with the Schwinn Axum DP. So again, a lot of great features to this bike. big oversized off-road tires here. It does have really nice shocks. Now they aren't the best shocks in the world, but they are pretty nice right out of the box because they are adjustable with a lockout. I believe they're 100mm travel, but they are good for the time being. So that will probably be something that I will upgrade in the future, just not quite right now, because on my Schwinn Boundary build I had going on up there, it had the shocks, but it did not have the adjustable shocks with a lockout. So that's a great feature there as well. It's got a 1x8 cassette drivetrain here, so that right there is really nice because I really like having just one set of gears to worry about, and the range of motion is typically very nice, which I really like those as well. So we're all good. Let's go ahead and get our front wheel mounted on, and then we'll get all of our cables zip tied up, and then we'll be right back. Now, one thing I do typically do, I don't really ride this on the street too often, but a lot of times these reflectors here, I just take them off. I'll take off this chain guard here, right here where my finger is, take that off. I might end up taking off the kickstand because when you are out in the trails and you're riding downhill, going over a lot of bumps and jumps, the kickstand rattles a lot, and the last thing you want to happen is when you hit a hard jump is for it to pop down, and that's gonna cause a problem. So if you're just leisurely riding on some light trails, not a big deal, but just be aware, any type of kickstand on a downhill mountain bike that you are going to be heavily jumping and doing things like that, you might want to consider taking that off or replacing it with something different. So it is already pre-drilled for 2 different water bottle holders. Again, really nice frame. I'm really happy with this bike. I wanted this bike originally, but a year ago, it was nowhere to be found. It was almost impossible to find any bikes back then, but I could not find that one at all. So I ultimately went with the Schwinn Boundary up here, which was always a good bike. And then the Schwinn aluminum comps, those are also very nice bikes too. That's a 27.5-inch bike there. The Schwinn Boundary is a 29-inch bike. The Schwinn Axum is also a 29-inch bike. This blue one is a large 19-inch frame. I believe the red one that's out there is a medium frame. So if you like this type of a bike that has a lot of great features, which allows you to upgrade this bike down the road, and you don't quite want as big of a 19-inch large frame, the red one I believe is the medium frame, which you might want to check out. So let me continue moving on, get that front tire put on, and we'll get everything zip tied up, and I'll show you it at the end. Okay, here we are so far. So front handlebars are on, seat post is installed. I have all the wires zip tied with heavier duty zip ties. I'll cut those off at the end. I usually just add one more zip tie. I don't tie it super tight, just allow some leeway. It keeps all the cables sort of clipped in the front because these little stupid plastic clips right here, those are worthless. They don't do anything. So I just try to keep a little bit of a zip tie here just to hold them out of the way. It still allows for plenty of movement and room. And then I use heavier duty zip ties here because the skinny little plastic ones that come shipping, they're usually so brittle they just break off anyways. So I took care of that. So everything is installed so far. I'll go back through and tighten it at the very end. Last thing you want to do is throw in your pedals. They're right here. They are labeled right and left. So once you put them in, now keep in mind, the left one, you're going to basically crank to the left. The right one, you're going to crank to the right. So all we got to do is get these mounted on, put air in the tires, make sure my handlebars are tightened up a little bit more, cut the zip ties, and we're good. Now, I always take my front reflector off just because I just don't like the way it looks when I'm riding. Because when I'm riding, okay, maybe I'm just a little bit weird, but I like everything to be centered, okay? But when I have a reflector off-centered like that, it just drives me nuts. So maybe eventually I might add another reflector that's kind of something that's more centered, but I always take the front one off. The back one doesn't really bother me, but you know, as I start changing and upgrading this bike and doing different color themes going on, getting a new seat, probably new hand grips because I don't like those, probably new pedals, probably do the hydraulic disc brakes. So I'll be doing a lot of upgrades to this bike. But let me go ahead, get the pedals put on, and we'll follow up here in a minute. Okay, there we go. There is the Schwinn Axum DP mountain bike. This is a 19-inch large frame for, say, people 6 foot taller. It does come with oversized 29-inch wheels with very thick oversized tires, great for off-roading. It has a 1x8 drivetrain. It does have the Axe derailleur here, which I've never had any problems with mine. A few adjustments here and there, but overall they seem to work very well and they're very quiet. Pedals are just like any big box bike pedal. They're not that great. I will be upgrading those eventually. It does have a tapered head tube here, which is really nice. So you can always upgrade shocks later. But these shocks right here are really not that bad. I believe they're 100mm travel, but they are adjustable with a lockout. So that's a really nice feature that comes standard on this bike. But another great feature that this bike has is the dropper post. So it already comes with this. That's a really nice feature when you're trail riding and you need to get some more clearance when you're doing jumps and downhill. It does have disc brakes front and back, but they are mechanical. So again, that's another upgrade I will be doing in the near future, is getting probably a set of the Shimano hydraulic brakes there. The lock-on hand grips are okay. They're not my favorite, which again, most box bikes don't come with really great grips. So I probably will be replacing those as well. I'll probably be replacing the seat because the seat is, again, just okay. But overall, for a Walmart box bike, this bike is a great bike for people starting to get into trail riding because it's already preset to allow you to do a lot of upgrades that a lot of other bikes don't allow you to do. So again, even if you get into some of the more expensive bikes, they might not have a tapered head tube. They might not come with adjustable shocks. They might not be a 1x8 drivetrain there. They might not have disc brakes. And they probably most likely will not have an included dropper post, which is really cool for this bike. So again, I think it's fairly light so far. Again, I am coming from an upgraded Schwinn Boundary, but overall, I think this bike is really good. It's a great bike for people that are getting into the more advanced trail riding. Again, because it's already preset to allow you to do a lot of upgrades down the road so that this bike could stick with you for a long time. And again, if you could catch this on sale, you might be able to get this for under $500. I luckily found one online. Walmart happened to get one online. I ordered it and I actually got it on sale for $450. So really not a bad price for all of the upgrades that you get on this bike. I cannot wait to get it out on the trail and try a few things. I will be doing some more upgrades to this bike, so stay tuned. But again, that's stuff that's going to come probably more likely in the spring or over the winter so that I'm ready to ride in the spring. But my initial impressions of the Schwinn Axum DP, I think it's a great bike. Again, I was really excited to try to get this last year, but I wasn't able to. So I'm really excited to try this bike out and put it through its paces this year. So there you go. That is the Schwinn Axum DP.
So there you go, guys. That right there is the unboxing, basic assembly, and initial impression of the Schwinn Axum DP 29-inch mountain bike. I really think it's a solid bike. I'm really excited to have it. I can't wait to start doing more upgrades to it and taking it out on the trails. Last year, I didn't get to ride too many trails because, again, up in the mountains where I would like to go, they still had a lot of the trails closed down, mainly because there's just not enough people to work at these places or to open up these trails. So, again, hopefully 2022 will be a better year for trail riding, but if not, we're just going to go find some trails somewhere. But my initial impressions, I really like it. I think it's a great bike. It has a lot of capabilities of upgrading it down the road. Right out of the box, it's already an awesome bike. It has so many great features right out of the box that most other bikes don't have. Even if you're spending more money on those bikes, they don't have all these features. So in terms of a great value mountain bike for those of you that might be more beginners that are getting into trail riding, you cannot go wrong with this bike. The Schwinn Axum DP is an awesome bike. And then down the road, when you start getting more and more advanced and you want to start getting into those $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,500 mountain bikes, then do it at that point. But if you're just getting into trail riding and you want a trail worthy mountain bike, definitely check out the Schwinn Axum DP. So that's it. I hope you like this video. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And also do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I truly appreciate you all. And as always, see you in the next video.